Hello, I'm Chess Expert Gil Luna. This video is on the rule of the square. Now, the rule of the square is a basic endgame principle so that you don't have to calculate whether you can actually catch a pawn or not. A lot of times, especially in the heat of the moment, you're in an endgame and you have to calculate 7, 8 moves ahead to see if I can actually stop this pawn, right? So black's going this way, I'm going this way, and sometimes you have to count it out. All right, so I move here, he moves there, I move here, he moves there. I move here, he moves there, and I stop him. All right, so I can calculate that, but maybe you have 15 seconds left on your clock in a chess game, and your king is all the way back here, and the pawn is all the way back here. I'm going to show you a very simple way to do this by using the rule of the square. All right, so the pawn represents the corner of the square. All right, this is corner number 1. So how do you find the square? Well, basically, you're looking for a perfect square. All right, so the first thing you got to do is just see how many squares it takes to get to the promotion square. So here, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3. So all you're going to do is go 3 sideways. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to close our square. So as you can see, right here, we have a perfect square. All right, so here's our square. Now, if your king is within the square, you can stop the pawn. Now, in this case, you might be saying, hey, wait a minute, my king is outside of the square, so how did you stop the pawn? Well, it's white's turn. All right, you're going to see in the next example how it makes a difference. So my first move, being white's turn, will be here. Black moves, I move, black moves, I move, and the pawn has been stopped. Let's go to the next problem. Okay, here we have the same exact position, except it's black's turn. So we're going to look for our square here. All right, that is our square. So when black moves first, we move. As you can see, the square just got smaller. Now our square is smaller, and we're still outside of it. So he moves, we move, and the square just got smaller, and we are still outside of it. And black promotes. So you have to be within the square in order to stop the pawn. All right. So here we are going to calculate the square from this position. So let's look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to our promotion square. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here we close our square. So depending on whose turn it is, you can see whether you can stop this pawn or not. So if it's black's turn in this position, then black can stop the pawn, because you can see all black has to do is move into the square. But because it's white's turn, all right, so we're going to go ahead and do this. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So our square is here. As you can see, we have our square, and the black king cannot catch it. All right, so let's go to the next problem. All right, so here we have our pawn representing our corner, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we are going to close our square. So here's our square, and it's black to move. So I want you to pause the video and see if you can stop this pawn. All right, so if you said you could stop the pawn in this situation, you would be wrong. All right, why? Because a lot of you might have got tricked by not remembering about the double jump of the pawn. See, if the pawn can only move forward once, you would be correct if you said, I stop the pawn. But because white has a double jump to start, you will always be outside of the square. All right, you see that? With the double jump, black will always be outside of the square. But fortunately, it is black's turn in this position, and yes, you should be able to stop it, right? Or no? It shouldn't make a difference, right? You still can't stop the pawn. Watch. Promote. So once again, we're back here. So even though you moved into the square, it's not the real square. You have to calculate the square of the double jump. All right? So we're going to erase this, and we are going to calculate that even though it's your turn, the square you should really be looking at is this one. This is the square that you should really be looking at. And if you see, black will always be on the outside of your square. And promote. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed this video.